Welcome to my channel, KC, that's me, Carrie Chug, the Sledge Storyteller, here to talk about the wonderful world of storytelling and to open up discussion about how we can tell the best stories we can. So, Dracula, definitely among the most ubiquitous of all monsters that we see during Halloween. He first came out in 1897 under the authorship of Bram Stoker. And since then, there have been more books read about him. He's been in comic books. He's been in movies. He's been in any form of media you can imagine. There are Halloween decorations that go up on windows of him. But for all that so many people automatically know, here are 10 of the most obscure facts about Dracula. Number 1. He's the third most portrayed pop culture character in movies. So, when you hear in the ranks the number 1 there, you have to hear that name and then stop and say, duh. But we're talking about Santa Claus. And number 2 in the ranks, not so jolting, Sherlock Holmes. But Dracula has been portrayed in over 200 films. Universal Studios picked up the license for production in the US starting with the two 1931 films, that's right, two, an English version and a Spanish version, and eventually Hammer Films in Britain got rights to start making Dracula movies in the 50s. And finally, as copyright laws dictated back then, Dracula fell into public domain in 1962. That's 50 years after Bram Stoker's death. And a quick look at IMDb will confirm that it was then that the floodgates opened for many studios to take full advantage of his availability. Number 2. Nothing romantic or dapper about him as depicted by Bram Stoker. Now, I've mentioned it before, but for all of my love of Frank Langella's portrayal of Dracula, his creator, Bram Stoker, was probably turning in his grave over that kind of portrayal that began with the 1924 play written by Hamilton Dean and the title role performed by stage actor Raymond Huntley. As he was originally portrayed, it was a decrepit old man dressed only in black with the fangs and with a big brushy mustache. And though in the novel he does get younger, he still never becomes handsome to the ladies, but simply looks for the best opportunity to strike at his victims so he can drink their blood and never to take them as his brides. Which segues into number 3. The novel sold well, but the first stage production was a flop. Now, I admit that as I started reading up on the subject matter, I had already believed that what was frequently mentioned in several sources, that Stoker never lived to see his best-known work be a success, but in fact it was well-reviewed by critics and well-received by the public. But his first attempt to bring to life Dracula on stage, since he did work in the theater, it didn't work out so hot. From the website, the British Library, we read, given the Count's considerable popularity for later generations and given the proliferation of vampire fiction and imagery circulating in society towards the end of the Victorian era, it comes as something of a surprise to learn that only 2 paying customers attended the first ever performance of Dracula on stage. That following this one-off performance in 1897, the character of the Count did not take to the British stage again until 1924. Not so surprising when all accounts say that the project was rushed. It was just a public reading performance, the kind that Charles Dickens was famous for doing. So, if Bram Stoker had taken time to try to make the production value work more, that might have lasted longer. Number 4. The best-known Dracula actor began with that role on stage. Now, Belalugosi, the man who has become the face of the cultural Dracula, even down to the cartoonish caricatures, he took his shot at Bat, pardon the pun, just couldn't resist. That was in 1927 as the play was produced in the US. And when Universal Studios got started on their English-speaking Dracula movie project, he made every effort to campaign for the lead role, and he also made all kinds of concessions to get the role. One of them getting a meager wage, even for 1930s Hollywood, of $500 a week. But now another segue. Number 5. Belalugosi benefited from the death of the first actor picked for the movie role. Belalugosi, he's immortalized himself in the Dracula role, but a good what-if story to ponder upon. What if the actor, known for his nickname, the Man with 1,000 Faces, had not died before production began? Lon Chaney had made a career out of playing such hideous figures as Hunchback of Notre Dame, the Phantom of the Opera, and even a vampire-like figure on the long-thought-to-be-destroyed London After Midnight. And all those makeup jobs you have been seeing were done by Lon Chaney himself. You have to believe that Universal thought they had a perfect actor for that big role. So after his death, Lugosi was seen as a workable option with his background in playing Dracula on stage, and as well as his willingness to accept a low wage, unfortunately. But Hollywood history is what it is, and I know of no one who hurts on settling for Lugosi. Number 6. On film, Lugosi played Dracula only twice. And so I get it, perhaps this could be thought of as 4 obscure facts about Bela Lugosi playing Dracula, but there's no talking about Dracula without talking about Lugosi. But, it's ironic that the best-known Dracula played the role only in the 1931 Dracula movie. And get ready for a shocker. The other one was 1948's Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Now, obviously a comedy, and it's in spite of only one name of those monsters in the title, Frankenstein. It featured Dracula and Lon Chaney Jr.'s ever-popular Wolfman. Between those two movies, John Carradine and Lon Chaney Jr., little irony there, were selected to play that role over those years. Number 7. Now, this guy has that same name, but did not inspire the creation of Dracula. Okay, anyone who takes time to learn about Count Dracula as a character in the history of multimedia will learn about the Prince of Transylvania, which is a region of what was then called Wallachia, now Romania. Vlad Dracula, or also called Vlad Tepes, meaning Vlad the Impaler. Now, it's the kind of nickname akin to Ivan the Terrible. So, Vlad can make you think about vampires when you hear that he killed so many by impaling them with wooden stakes, like as in lore, the way to kill vampires, and that he would drink their blood. And I'm not so sure how true that is, but I know that there were claims and stories written that, contemporary to his time. But the truth is that Bram Stoker had written most of his vampire stories manuscript with its evil vampire having the name of Count Vampire, before he came across the Wallachian prince's name and thus changed it. Since then, many writers and filmmakers have found it too irresistible to not interweave the historical figure with the story of the evil count. For the most part, it does work as an engaging addition to the tale. Just know that in the purest sense, Dracula is the name and was not the inspiration for the Count Dracula character. Number 8. Be grateful to YouTube that you can readily watch what is generally considered the oldest Dracula movie, since it is under public domain. But it's widely regarded as the first Dracula movie, the 1922 German silent film Nosferatu. Filmmaker F.W. Murnau thought he could make his own Dracula movie as long as he changed the names in the story, most notably Dracula's name changed to Count Orlok. Bram Stoker had been dead for 10 years, but his widow saw grounds for a lawsuit, and the courts ruled that all prints of the film were to be destroyed. But it's never a surprise when, after such an order has been given, for forgotten prints, they can surface. and such happened with Nosferatu. Public domain status means that it can easily make its way to YouTube. Many uploads of it have been there. You'll find out. Just enter Nosferatu in the YouTube search space, and anybody with good internet can access to watch it. And for that reason, I recommend you search for it and experience a creepy, haunting, yet engaging silent vampire film. Number 9, he's a werewolf. Now, just one of those oh yeah moments. Dracula can turn himself into a wolf, but by that same token, we may more readily call him a werebat. But it's worth just having a little fun, putting things together, saying he can be a werewolf, just that. Number 10, he's been a cartoon superhero, kinda, and going back 41 years, Hanna-Barbera's Australian division gave us
From the monsters of the past comes a new generation dedicated to reversing the evil image of their forefathers. Under the leadership of none other than Count Dracula, known as Big D, 3 teenagers formed the do-gooder group, named the Drag Pack. With special powers, they can transform into super mighty monsters and use their skills against all evildoers, especially the diabolical Dr. Dread and his renegade rascals Toad, Fly, Mummy Man, and Vampira, a group known as Ogre, the organization of generally rotten enterprises. It's right versus wrong, good over greed, niceness against naughtiness. That's the dedication of the terrific trio, Frankie, Howler, and Drax Jr., the Drac Pack.
It only lasted 1 season, but I was so into the Universal monsters that I couldn't get enough of them at the time. So it was a lot of fun for me. But those are my obscure Dracula facts. Agree, disagree, or something I left out? Please let me know in the comment section. If you like this video, please click like. If you like this channel, please click subscribe or follow me on Instagram. The link to order Sledge number 1 is below there in the description. Please take advantage of it. If you ever find the chance, you have a very low price digital copy option. Might be a little sticker shock if you choose to get a physical copy. I can't control the shipping charges. And Sledge number 2, I got updates today and where my artist stands with those last couple pages, giving them the final touches, and so I'm excited there. And I'll always say it, let's try to find civility in this world. We do have some chaos because of our disagreements. Let's not let them see each other as enemies. Let's find ways to find common ground. Let's all be friends, and let's respect each other. No matter what our differences are, we can learn to appreciate each other's differences. And let's do what we're supposed to do until the pandemic's over, and I'll never stop saying it. Please get vaccinated. I did it. My whole family did it. We've all been fine. You'll get through it, but everyone be safe, and God bless.